in Kemetic Spirituality, God's will and synchronicity, and it's called Anubis or Impu. That's Pooh fam, peace and blessings. This is Derric, RauKhu more, and in this video, I'm making this video mainly because somebody wanted this video. Okay, I don't know who it was, who wants this video. All I know is that I was getting ready. I'm trying to, I was, emptying my waters and everything, about to refresh my ancestor altar, trying to get the coffee and all that kind of stuff ready. And as soon as I emptied everything, and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead after I do this and I do my, my prayer, my meditations or whatever, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna work out, so I'm trying to go ahead and get all that ready. And then all of a sudden it was like, bing, here's this big old, it was like bright light. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And it was like, and the message came through clear, okay? The message was, hey, God's will is synchronicity, And then it was like, okay, all right. So then I went ahead and I'm washing my glasses out and everything with my, my soap and my salt and everything to get rid of that negative energy and stuff, any negative energy that's gotten on my glasses. Wash my glasses out and everything, and then the next part of the message comes through, and his name is Impu, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, okay, Impu pops up in my mind, and I'm like, okay, all right. So spirits basically, they wanted me to go ahead and make this video, okay, because somebody needed this video. Somebody wants this video, so let me go ahead and let's get to it, okay. Going to be real quick, but basically, for the most part, you always hear people talking about God's will. And I made, in the previous video, I was talking about how I was talking to this one individual, and they was telling me, hey, well, I'm not going to exercise or anything, for whatever reason. I'm not even going to go into all the reasons, but they was like, yeah, I'm not exercising, and they weren't going to change their diet, and they weren't going to do a whole lot of these things. They were just basically going to live their life carefree. That's how they looked at it. But at the end of their statement, at the end of them saying, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, they said, oh, and if I die, it's God's will. And I was like, huh? It was like, are you? Yeah, okay. I didn't want to call them crazy, but I was like, hey, respect their wishes, respect their beliefs, But that's really what it was. It was their beliefs. And in Kemetic Spirituality, one of the things that you learn about is you learn the metaphysics of your beliefs. You learn the metaphysics behind a lot of the things that are going on. Okay. Now, as I've mentioned before, sometimes you can get too caught up in the metaphysics. Sometimes you can get too caught up in the science, and as a result, you're looking at the psychology of it. You're looking at the science of it. You're looking at it from, from a very logical, Western, rational mindset. And as a result, you fail to see it from your traditional ancestral African, mindset, or, your traditional mindset, which is seeing it as a spirit, okay? And understanding the energy behind it, okay? But the thing is, that individual, when they said that, it was basically, that's all it was. It was their beliefs, okay? And I was like, wow, their beliefs are basically going ahead and it's setting them up for, as they said, if they die, it's God's will, okay? So that really made me go ahead, like I said, I thought about it and was like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. When I hear stuff like that, I got to kind of tap myself, tap a certain part of my body, tap my chest or something, so that I'm like, don't, tell my spirit, don't take that in, okay? That's some crazy thought, don't even put that in there. Don't incorporate that, okay? That's somebody else's beliefs, all right? And that's one of the ways in which you can protect yourself from stuff like that. When you start seeing negative things like that, you can go ahead, like I said, tap yourself on the chest 3 times. Tap yourself or tap yourself on the neck 3 times to go ahead and kind of, so that those thoughts, certain thoughts don't permeate into, or infiltrate and permeate into your spiritual life. Okay. Now, I say that mainly because I remember when I was talking to this individual, it reminded me of the time. I remember I went ahead and there was this one time, and I wrote this in my books. I wanted $3,000. And I remember I was like, yeah, I want $3,000. I really want $3,000. And part of the reason why I was wanting this $3,000 was because I just got finished reading about, this whole thing about the mind and, the subconscious and the superconscious and all that. And I wanted to, test it out, because they kept saying, well, your thoughts control your reality. So I was like, okay, let me test it out. So I remember, like I said, I was asking, I was like, yeah, I want $3,000. I want $3,000. And then I think I had said it so much and repeated it so many times that basically it was already, I forgot about it. So I tricked myself for the most part into believing it. And that was it. And I forgot about it. All of a sudden one day I go ahead and I get this call. Manager's like, hey, Derric, we want to talk to you. I was like, oh, okay, so my manager and the supervisor, they come in, and I've had a conversation with them before, and, they're like, hey, come on down to the office. So I've had a conversation with them before when I was in the office. But this time it was different. They closed the door. And I'm like, okay, what the hell? What y'all about to do? And as soon as I went ahead, they was like, well, as you know, the company's downsizing. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, really? They're like, yeah, the company's downsizing, so we're going to have to let you go. And, like a lot of people, I was like, how come y'all didn't let me freaking know this on Monday? You're going to let me work the whole week, and then you're going to tell me this on Friday. Anyway, whatever, So they go ahead and they're like, yeah, we're going to have to let you go, And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. And the manager's like, well, but, Derric, you're going to be all right, because you got it right. You got it going, And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, But then they went ahead and they was like, the manager was like, here's your severance pay. And my severance pay was for that magical number, $3,000. Okay. So that basically helped me to understand that, yeah, my thoughts have a whole lot to do with how my reality, my physical reality plays out. Okay. So metaphysically, that's how that works. Okay. From a spiritual perspective, from an occult perspective, we call that Empu. Okay, in the Kemetic tradition, we call it Empu. The Greeks call him Anubis. All right. If you learn about other African traditions, you'll find out that they all have, just about most African traditions, or in the world traditions for that matter, they have a messenger spirit. Okay, or messenger spirits. They're also called trickster spirits, psychocomps, or psychopomps, I should say. They're divine messengers. Okay, that's what Empu is, and Empu is the one who basically opens the way for anything you want, regardless of being good or bad. Okay. Opens the way. And this is the part that confuses a lot of people who are not involved in, non-Western traditions or non-Western religions, is that they see it being good or bad. They see it as being, like I said, they see it as being good or bad. They see it as being good or evil. And because of that, of having that dualistic nature, that, upsy curvy or upsy toppy, I think that's what they call it. Instead of them going ahead and and seeing that it's based upon your decision, based upon your thoughts, based upon your choices, they will interpret that as evil. And this is the reason why you always see, every time they make a movie about ancient Egypt, they always depict Anpu as being some evil type of entity. And that's not the case. They always equate Anpu with, with Set, or with the devil, or with Satan, and all that kind of stuff. And that's based upon, that's a whole nother conversation. But they always portray him as being evil. And that's not the case. All right. It's a trickster spirit. It is Anpu is a messenger spirit. Anpu is over the crossroads, the Lord of the crossroads. Okay. The Lord, the opener of the way. All right. Which is really so interesting that people go in here and they try to say, okay, well, Anpu has nothing to do with, with anything with regarding West and Central Africa. And you're like, the name Anpu, one of his praise names is Apawat, which is opener of the way. And who else opens up the way? Who else do you know that opens up the way? And another popular tradition, another popular, spiritual African tradition, Ilegua, okay? Impalo Lucero, okay? So I'm like, whatever. Anyway, the point that I'm making is that Anpu is the one that opens the way, all right? And it's all, basically, he throws it back on you, or I should say they, because it's more than one. There's a bunch of Anpus. From my experience, there's a family of them. But they throw it back on you to let you know that it's your thoughts, it's what you believe that basically opens the way, okay? And the whole reason for you honoring them, the whole reason for you honoring your Anpu before you start the day, all right? And this is part of the reason why they want this video. Regardless if you are, if you're into, if you're starting off on Kemetic Spirituality or not, this is what they want you to know. This is what Anpu wants you to know. It's all about what you choose to do. Okay? If it's all about your beliefs, and based upon your beliefs, the decisions you make, there you go. Okay? So we honor Anpu, or we honor Anpu by going ahead and, the first of the week. Sometimes I go ahead and I prefer to do it on Saturday, because this is the day, the most busiest, the less busiest day compared to Monday, in which we go ahead and restart things. But traditionally you go ahead and you can open the way, give an offering to Anpu, and basically give an offering to your Anpu, and basically ask Anpu, open the way, open the way for, you, your loved ones, your family, open the way to better opportunities, to greater opportunities, to peace, to happiness, to the enjoyable things in life, but again, be mindful that if you're asking for certain things and you don't put no boundaries on it, okay, like I did with my $3,000, if you don't put any boundaries on it, you don't put any limits, if you don't put any kind of, I don't want to say restrictions, but if you don't put any type of guidelines, that's probably a better term, of how you want it, then Anpu will go ahead, or the universe or the spirits will basically go ahead and they will make it happen by any means. Okay? And so you got to be specific. That's the trickster part of Anpu. All right? So like I said, keep that in mind. Every time you're putting out something, you say, hey, regardless if you believe in Anpu or not, if you say, put out this blanket statement, this is what I want, and you really have firm belief that this is what you want, and you're not putting any guidelines or anything on it, then be prepared for it to manifest any way you want it. or anyway, what's the easiest way in which you can manifest. Okay. Now, before I close, the question comes to mind: what should I have done when I went ahead and I was asking for the $3,000? Well, what I should have said was, I would like $3,000, or I want $3,000 as a gift, or I want $3,000 as from selling some food. I should have put some guidelines on it. And because I did not put any guidelines on it, that's the reason why that $3,000 came as that severance pay, because it was the easiest way to give me $3,000 by laying me off. Okay. And yeah, at the time when that happened, of course I wasn't laughing. All right. But now that's the impu. That's how I know it's impu, because okay, now I can laugh at it, and I learned my lesson. And that's how impu teaches. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that helped you. You got any comments, suggestions, go ahead and give me a ring or so. Until next time, thanks again for liking, sharing, subscribing. Till next time, peace.